On February 28, 2026, bombs fell on Tehran. The United States and Israel launched what they're calling Operation Epic Fury, and within 24 hours, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the man who led the Islamic Republic for nearly 4 decades, was dead. Missiles are now raining down on Dubai, on Riyadh, on Doha. Stock markets are collapsing. The Strait of Hormuz, the pipeline for 20% of the world's oil, is in jeopardy. And right now, people all over the world are asking one question: is this it? Is this the beginning of the end? Disclaimer: this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It covers factual geopolitical events and explores their connection to biblical prophecy as discussed by theologians and scholars. This is not a prediction of the future. We do not promote fear, panic, or any political agenda. Always form your own informed opinion. Now, sit down, because what you're about to hear will change how you see the news forever. Let's start with what we actually know. On the morning of February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched coordinated, simultaneous strikes on Iran. Not small strikes, not warning shots. These were strikes designed to end a regime. They hit nuclear facilities, ballistic missile infrastructure, radar installations, and then, most shockingly, they targeted Iran's leadership directly. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in a strike on his compound in the heart of Tehran. Alongside him, Iran's Chief of Army Staff, its defense minister, the head of the Revolutionary Guard, and approximately 40 senior Iranian officials, all gone in one night. Trump went on air and called it a major combat operation, saying the goal was to eliminate, quote, imminent threats from the Iranian regime. Iran did not go quietly. Within hours, Iranian missiles were intercepted over Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the UAE. An Iranian strike hit Dubai International Airport. Another hit a hotel on the Palm Jumeirah. Iranian missiles struck Kuwait, Amman, Doha, and Riyadh. 3 American soldiers have already been killed. Trump said on Truth Social, there will likely be more. This is not a skirmish. This is a war. Now here's where it gets interesting, because if you've ever read the book of Revelation, and I mean actually read it, some of what I'm about to show you will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And if you're not subscribed yet, you might want to fix that before we get to the part about the kings of the East, because that's where this gets wild. Let's talk about Revelation, the last book of the Bible, written by the Apostle John, exiled on the island of Patmos around 95 AD. Now, theologians have debated this book for 2,000 years. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to show you what it says and let you decide. Revelation 16:12 through 16 describes what's known as the Battle of Armageddon. It talks about the Euphrates River drying up to make way for the kings from the east. The Euphrates River runs directly through Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, right in the middle of the current war zone. Water levels in the Euphrates have been at historic lows for years due to drought and dam projects. Multiple scholars have flagged this. Then Revelation 16:16 says the armies of the world will gather at a place called Armageddon, which is a real place, Megiddo in northern Israel, an ancient military crossroads that has seen more battles than almost any other place on earth. It describes a global conflict, nations gathering, fire falling, the collapse of kingdoms. Now, is that what's happening right now? We'll come back to that. Here's what makes this specific moment different from every other Middle East crisis in history. Look at who is involved right now. The United States, the world's largest military power, is actively bombing Iran. Israel, conducting large-scale strikes described as being designed to pave the path to Tehran. Iran, striking Gulf states, sinking ships, and in the process of choosing a new supreme leader while under full-scale military assault. Russia has called an emergency UN Security Council meeting. Russia is Iran's major ally. Russian weapons are in Iranian hands. Russian officials are furious. China has significant economic ties to Iran and has been watching closely. The DIA warned in 2025 that Iran could develop an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of reaching the US mainland by 2035. Hezbollah in Lebanon, weakened but not destroyed, the Houthis in Yemen, who previously shut down Red Sea shipping, now deciding whether to enter the fight. Revelation 16 describes kings gathering from the whole world for battle. Whether you believe that literally or not, what we are watching right now is the most nations simultaneously drawn into a Middle East conflict since World War II. That's not opinion, that's the news. Here's a question nobody's asking, but everybody should be. Why did this happen now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not last year? The answer involves something called the Gog and Magog prophecy, and it connects to a country that most people in the West forget to think about. Stick with me. And hey, if someone sent you this video and you're watching but you're not subscribed, just know that the people who are subscribed found out about this an hour before you did. Your call. Let's go deeper into scripture. Ezekiel 38 and 39, written about 2,600 years ago, describe a coalition of nations attacking Israel from the north. The leader is called Gog of the land of Magog. For centuries, Bible scholars have debated who Gog and Magog represent. Many modern theologians, including those at Dallas Theological Seminary and other serious institutions, have argued that the geographic description points to nations north of Israel, which is, broadly, Russia and nations of the former Soviet sphere. The coalition described in Ezekiel 38 includes Persia, the ancient name for Iran. It also includes nations scholars associate with parts of modern Turkey, Libya, and Ethiopia/Sudan. Here's what's stunning. In Ezekiel 38:8, it says this attack on Israel happens in the latter years after Israel has been gathered from many nations. Israel as a modern nation-state did not exist until 1948. For 1,878 years, it didn't exist. Then suddenly, it did. That timing is why millions of theologians treat these prophecies seriously. Now, we are not saying this is definitively the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38, but we are saying the pieces that would need to be in place are in place. Persia/Iran in direct conflict with Israel, Russia hostile and positioned, a Middle East in full-scale war. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, that's a striking alignment. Let's come back to Earth for a second, because even if you don't believe in biblical prophecy at all, what's happening has real-world consequences that will reach your wallet and your daily life. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway between Iran and Oman, handles roughly 20% of the world's oil and LNG supply. Iran has threatened to close it. If that happens, oil prices will spike in ways we haven't seen since the 1970s. Qatar, the world's largest exporter of liquefied natural gas, has already seen output disrupted by Iranian strikes. That affects energy prices in Europe, Asia, and beyond. Nasdaq Dubai suspended trading. Kuwait's stock exchange halted. Global markets are bracing. The IAEA, the International Nuclear Watchdog, has confirmed it is monitoring the situation. Most of Iran's nuclear material is still intact despite previous strikes, meaning the nuclear threat has not been eliminated, it's been provoked. This is not a contained regional conflict. The economic and security shock waves are already global. Now, I want to ask you something directly. We've talked about what's happening. We've talked about what Revelation says. We've looked at the players. But here's the question that keeps serious scholars up at night. What comes after a conflict like this? What does history say happens when a major regional power collapses suddenly? Because if you think the fall of Iran's government means peace, history has a very different answer. Revelation chapter 6 describes the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The first horseman, conquest. The second, war. The third, famine. The fourth, death. They don't come separately. They come in sequence, and each one sets off the next. We have war right now, visible, undeniable. But what follows war in the Middle East historically? Famine and displacement. When the Strait of Hormuz is threatened, food supply chains break down. Iran is a nation of 90 million people, many of them civilians who had nothing to do with their government's decisions. A collapsed regime without a stable successor creates a power vacuum. Power vacuums attract extremism. We saw it in Iraq in 2003. We saw it in Libya. We saw it in Syria. The Atlantic Council, one of the world's most respected geopolitical think tanks, noted clearly, the space between regime collapse and democratic consolidation is historically the most dangerous phase. Revelation's horsemen aren't just a spiritual metaphor to people who study these things. They describe a pattern, a cascade, an escalation that feeds itself. We're watching that cascade begin in real time. I want to give you something you can hold on to before we wrap up, because I know this feels overwhelming, and I know some of you are scared, and some of you are skeptical, and some of you came here for the prophecy, and some of you came here for the geopolitics. Here's what I can tell you for certain. Whether this is Armageddon or not, this is a turning point, a pivot in history that people will be teaching in schools 50 years from now, and you are watching it happen. What you do with that information matters. Stay with me for the final part. And if you're still not subscribed, the next video in this series covers the role of the Antichrist in end times prophecy, and which modern figures theologians are connecting to that role. You'll want to be here for that. Now, let's be real with you. Serious biblical scholars, people with PhDs in theology who have spent their lives studying eschatology, which is the study of end times, are divided. Some say yes, the alignment of nations, the geography, the timing, it fits the prophetic framework too precisely to ignore. Others say we've had signs before. World War I, World War II, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Cold War. Every generation thinks they're the last, and every generation so far has been wrong. The honest answer is, no one knows. What we can say with certainty is this. The US and Israel have just killed Iran's supreme leader. Iran is firing missiles at multiple countries simultaneously. Russia is mobilizing diplomatically. Nuclear material is unaccounted for. 3 American soldiers are dead, and Trump says more will follow. The global economy is shaking. This is either the beginning of Armageddon or it is the most serious geopolitical crisis since World War II. Both of those things should command your full attention. Revelation 16:15 says, "Behold, I come like a thief. Blessed is he who stays awake." Whether you read that literally or metaphorically, staying awake, staying informed, and refusing to look away from what's happening is the right call. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop a comment below. Do you think this is the beginning of the end or just another chapter in human history? I read every single comment. If this video gave you something to think about, share it, because the people in your life deserve to understand what's happening right now. And subscribe, because this story is not over. Not even close. The next video, we're going deep on what the Bible says happens to Israel after this war, and what Revelation 19 describes coming next. You do not want to miss that. I'll see you there.